Hi, so I was just playing with the Age of Sigmar War Scroll Builder. It's like an army builder that you can use as a free resource on the Games Workshop website. Link in the description below if you're not familiar with it. So I'll go through briefly what it can do. But I've noticed there's a couple of new features appeared on it, which are actually really excellent and going to be really useful for me as I start to plan out more and more armies. So just to show you what it looks like. So it looks like this. You can find it in the Warhammer community section in FAQs and useful things, War Scroll Builder. There's a similar thing for 40k, but it's not as functional. I think 40k is a slightly different situation. Age of Sigmar, when it came out, of course, had this thing about, okay, you shouldn't have to pay for loads and loads of books, even though there's quite a few books if you're going to be playing your match play and all the rules and all the rest of it. But nonetheless, just to be able to get into it doesn't, so you can get the War Scrolls for individual units online there. So what we can look at, there's a skirmish version and a one, it says, of course, General's Handbook 2018, but that's equally going to apply to people who've got the battle tomes for these armies as well. You can change the points values. So, for example, last night I was playing a game which was a little under 1,200 points. So I could say change it to Vanguard plus 250 points, because it'll also tell me when we've got the right number of leaders, battle lines, behemoths, and all the rest of it. So what I was doing is I was actually building up the army of my opponent just to sort of see exactly what was in it. So it was a Slaanesh army. I do like my Slaanesh. The battle report for that will be coming in a couple of days as well. And hosts of Slaanesh. And what I was noticing, so I was putting in their army basically. So they had one of those. They had one of those. And I hadn't noticed at first. So what were those? Herald of Slaanesh for there, and then they had a Mask of Slaanesh. And I was looking down here, and I suddenly noticed, if you can see, it's got some vital stats here. So it tells me the Exalted Greater Demon of Slaanesh, which was the general, as movement 14, asterisk, which of course as a behemoth means its movement is reduced, with more wounds it takes. Save 4+, wounds 15. Not quite sure what the B is about, actually. I will think about that in a moment, because what I was doing is I was looking at this and then I thought, oh, there's a question mark here, and I was thinking, what's the B for? I know, I'll click on this. And then what happened was it took me to the War Scroll for that. So I still don't know what the B is. I'll think about that later, but nonetheless, isn't that really useful? So you can be messing about here, well, oh dear, wrong one, messing about here, working out sort of what units you can go, oh, that unit, oh, what does that do again? I can't quite remember. Click on the question mark, takes you to the War Scroll. So it's not there for all of them. Like the Exalted Greater Demon of Slaanesh, I was thinking, it's not there for that. And I was thinking, well, that's a Forge World model. Maybe that's an aspect of that, because that wouldn't be on the normal Games Workshop site. That would only be on the Forge World one. Maybe they haven't put those links in yet. But then there's a Chaos Lord of Slaanesh we've got there. And again, I was thinking, well, maybe that's because you can get a Chaos Sorcerer Lore, so I was looking that up, and indeed its rules are available to get there. I could just get those rules up, but not specifically one of Slaanesh, even though, of course, that's part of the normal rules of the Chaos Sorcerer Rule. It's the same thing. So I think what it is it's just, at the moment, they're not all there. So what I can do to reset this, well, I'll tell you what, I'll make the army as it was. So what we can see here is, once I've made up the army and put all the units that were there in, you can verify up here. It's telling me we've got the maximum number of leaders, so that's okay. Battle line, we've got the minimum number of battle lines, so that's okay. We don't have too many behemoths. So if any of these were red, it would say you've got too many of these things. And what you do, if you're getting anything that's an ally, it doesn't automatically do it. So if you bring in something that would realistically be an ally, you do have to click on this. Of course, that's not an ally. But if it were, you'd have to click on that. So there's a certain amount of stuff you have to do manually, so you have to be aware of a few things. So it's not really a replacement for having either the Battle Tome or the General's Handbook as such. Although, of course, it does, because it won't... If I drag this down here, it just tells me all of the Chaos allegiances. It's not necessarily the case that in fact, all of these are not possible allies for this army. So you have to, as I say, you have to have that book if you're going to play match play properly yourself. It allows you to put in, for the general command traits, as well as, any artifact you may have and spells, things like that. Of course, for this army, it doesn't have a battle tome, therefore it doesn't have its own spells to choose. but where that is the case. So if I show you, for example, if I reset it, and the way to reset it is, in this case, I'll just click on the General's Handbook again, resets it back to the 2000. So if I put my Nighthaunt army in that I took now, so I just click on the correct Grand Alliance, so Death in this case, and it's Nighthaunt, that's the allegiance for my army. You can also select the Mortal Realm here, because remember you get a spell attached to that, that would automatically put that in. And then choose the faction you want to take, because there could be multiple of these depending on allies, but mine was entirely Nighthaunt. One interesting thing here is, again, another little addition, is it's got the Guardian of Souls with the Mortality Glass in now as well to put in there, which is the limited edition model with its own rules that you could get. So that's pretty cool. It's also got the Briar Queen in there now, but I'm not sure whether that was in before or not. So, again, with my army here, we can see that I've got, you know, there's no red here. Everything's all fine and dandy. And again, I can select the command trait I took with my general. I can also select the relic that I took. Now, again, it is slightly limited here. Now, this particular relic allows me to become a wizard. So, in theory, there's a spell I'll be able to choose as well. And you can sort of download, when you finish this, you can download the roster. There will be the odd thing missing off it. As I say, in this particular case, it would have missing off it the spell I'm choosing. So, you know, it doesn't have absolutely every little wriggle in it. So, with my Guardian of Soul, for example, it took Shade Mist. And it will work out for you how many wounds your army's got in total, as well as how many points it is, how many extra command points you'd have. Because we didn't use this, we just tried to match our armies to the same points cost roughly. And what I was noticing is for all of these from Nighthaunt, it does actually have the question mark thing for all of them, which was quite interesting. So you can get the war scrolls for all of them for that one. So I think it's just a case of it's in progress, and they'll be putting them in, you know, putting the links in. I suppose that's what it is. Ultimately, this is like a community project. So that's, you know, a really amazing feature, because what it does is allow you, if I sort of reset it again, to, you know, just play about with different, you know, you set your allegiance, set your faction, build up some armies, try different things out. And as I say, if you're not sure, if you come across something, which I did. Now, to show you one last example, I was, you know, making, and at the moment, in the middle of painting a Nurgle army, been really slow on that. And, you know, I went down, Maggotkin of Nurgle, I'll build my army up. How do we do that? And I came to this, I thought, oh my god, there's not this many in the Maggotkin of Nurgle battle tome. Where's all this come from? Where's all this come from? And what I hadn't considered is, of course, there's other aspects of Chaos where you can give certain units the mark of Nurgle, at which point it gets Nurgle in their keyword, and therefore it's valid for them, as well as, of course, some Forge World things. So I was able to then go, you know, expand the sort of units that I could potentially get in the army, read around it, and it all effectively came from this. And but again, you can the war scroll for this particular one, Rotigus, is really hard to find, because, you know, when you sort of look it up on the Games Workshop one, unless they've added it recently, maybe that's why, because I had a terrible time trying to find its rules. When I just clicked on him, there's no rules thing down there. But of course it does come in the same box as the Great Unclean one, so it may just be that the rules are in here as well. But no, they're not. So actually, that's actually quite cool, because that's the only way I've been able to get the Rotigus War Scroll, other than in my Maggotkin of Nurgle book, but as an electronic form. I've never been able to find this before. So that's also really useful. It sort of cuts out your digital shoe leather in actually trying to find these things. And of course, you've got your endless spells down there as well, and you can assign your battalions. And you can put notes. So when I was talking about, for example, my Knight of Shrouds and Ethereal Steed getting a relic that makes it become a wizard, and he's allowed to choose a spell as well, then that's also the sort of thing you could put in the notes when you print out the roster. So I'll just show you something like that. So once you have your army selected, you can save it to a PDF. And I could just call that something. Print unit stats now is there. And we can open this up. And there we've got our nice little roster. So with some notes down there, as I say, because I couldn't put the spell in there. And what you've got is a breakdown of your army with some of these key stats. I've just realised B stands for bravery. Oh dear. There we go. I was just wondering, why is that a 6? And it's because it's bravery. And there you go. And it's got your down below, you've just got your sort of your check, effectively, your audit to make sure you've got everything all fine and dandy. You've got your points cost and wounds. And if you get any extra command points, it tells you how many extra command points you get there as well. Isn't that really useful? Although, as we'll discuss when I talk about the battle report I played from last night, I'd still favour my cheat sheets, but I think this would be... it's really good for just practicing building armies and planning out your armies. And then from there, I think probably a custom roster would be ideal. But this is still, I think, better than what a lot of people bring when they're trying to join the digital age and trying to mess about on their phone or tablet all the time, and then easily sort of missing things out there. Because in notes, you can also include all the things you're likely to forget. You know, the things you forget game after game. Oh yeah, that has that ability. Completely forgot. But anyway, have a little go with it. If you've not encountered this before, it is really useful. And I particularly approve of the new features that have been added with not only these stats, but more importantly, you know, being able to go to the war scroll for the unit as well. That's excellent. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe for further content. Where, as I say, in the next day or two, we're going to have a battle report and then an extra video where I'm going to discuss some of the strategic things I've learned there. And until next time, I'll see you later.